Henry family, however, is committed to being the last to suffer this level of pain. That, I am afraid, may not be realistic, but it is their aspiration. To create a society that eliminates instances like this, we must attack the institutional connections which have denied justice on too many occasions to too many victims, and given police officers the benefit of institutional doubt. The proposal I advance today in behalf of the Henry family is intended to increase public trust and accountability. I want to close briefly, and thank you for your indulgence, with several observations. Together, we must recommit to valuing all human life. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is hard talk, especially for the young, when we hear daily talk of, quote, collateral damage, close quote, a reference to countless civilians killed during combat operations. It is hard talk when the nation tires of debating the rationality of wars, which place our men and women in harm's way without a clear purpose or clear national mission. But however hard, we must teach our young that although violence appears accepted everywhere, and the means of settling disputes, whether in video games, TV shows, or movies, there is something fundamentally devaluing about the use of force and violence to settle human disputes. Likewise, there is something profoundly arrogant about putting oneself in a position where the only way out is to fire a weapon with the intent to kill and end another. Form the strong organizations which do not expect or believe we can achieve solutions overnight, but are in the struggle for the long haul. Only, ladies and gentlemen, in that way will justice be done on earth as in heaven. Thank you.
At this time, I would like to ask Reverend Williamson if he would like to come up and say a few words.
Say good afternoon to everyone that's assembled here. First of all, to this family, we have our condolences. To the friends, our prayers are with you as you go through all that you go through. We were challenged as a church community to open our doors. And took some mediation. Ms. Smith came and sat down, and representative, others with the NAACP and others came and sat down with us, and we had to think about what is the true role of the church in a time like this. And the church can be a place for hope. The church can be a place where people with differing views, different levels of understanding can come together, and where information can be shared in a safe environment. So we invited you to the safety of the sanctuary of Bethel, where we could lift up prayers, where we could have dialogue, where we could reach some type of understanding of what's going on and what's going to happen as we go forward. I would say to you that don't write the church off, because many movements have had their birth, their origins in the church. Amen. And the church represents something special. It represents the presence of God. And God is a God of justice. God is a watchful God. And we at Bethel, in this situation, right near the courthouse, we're going to do like the prophet Habakkuk. He said, I'm going to build a watchtower, and I'm going to watch to see what happens.
First of all, I would like to thank deeply Danroy Henry's family and Chanel Henry and Aria Smith for inviting us to be part of this demonstration and rally for justice for DJ and for my 5 young men who now stand charged with crimes for the first time in their lives. None of them have ever been arrested, let alone convicted of any crime. We intend to make sure that that happens in this case. I would like to introduce them to you so that you know what young men we have here. What young men need you to come to criminal court where they have to stand up as if they are common criminals and defend themselves because they had the guts to stand up to the police and beg the police to let them move forward to save Danroy Henry's life, because they weren't afraid of brutal police who were waving their firearms and their taser guns, and they stood up and they wouldn't let their friend die. On my immediate right is Daniel Parker. Daniel Parker is a graduate student. He's 22 years old, and he's a defensive back for the Pace University football team. On his right is Joey Garcia. Joey Garcia is 22 years old and a student at Pace University, also a defensive back. On his right is my client Joey Romanek, the quarterback. He's 21 years old. On his right is Desmond Hines, and Desmond is 22 years old. He's also a wide receiver for the Pace University football team. They saw their teammate, and we are going to expose now for the world to know the true facts that happened in this case. They saw their teammate lying on the street after he was shot 3 times by Mount Pleasant and Pleasantville police officers through the windshield of his car, and then dragged out of the car and left face down, handcuffed on the ground, bleeding. They witnessed their teammate, and as good Samaritans, teammates, and other students who loved DJ, they each separately attempted to go forward to
It is no longer a single municipality like Yonkers or Pleasantville or Mount Pleasant. It's not their problem. It's the nation's problem. Because these young men come from different parts. They come from outside of New York. So it's affecting people everywhere. So we have to